Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel, and I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering a returning series that finally has made it back to us, Divorced Sistas, currently streaming on Paramount Plus. This is season 1B, episode 9. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. You can also subscribe if you are new, and you can leave your comments below. Now let's get into this part B of the season. Yeah, so we are back finally. I think Divorced Sistas debuted back in June of last year, and we've been wondering what is happening. It's here. Paramount just announced last week, if I'm not mistaken, that it was going to be this week that I was like, Lord, as far as my schedule is, I'm like, how am I going to fit this in? But I'm going to make sure that I make more effort to get these videos up to you before now, which is Saturday into Sunday. I do apologize, but I'll get on the ball in regards to that. It's just, I wish I was a little bit more prepared. But you can also catch The Oval, season 7. They just dropped the whole series this past week, I think on Thursday or something like that. I'm like, can y'all give us something? Because if y'all don't know, BET Plus has been canceled. They're shutting that app down, so they're moving a lot of the shows from over there over here. Some shows have been renewed, some shows have been canceled. And I called it just like how they did with the CW. You know, most of the black shows didn't really make it. Tyler Perry, some of his stuff was canceled. But a lot of Tyler Perry stuff was renewed. So anyways, I'm still waiting on Zatima, which I think will be next, but still, we've been waiting on that too. Anyways, let me stop talking. All right, so we're at the hospital with Geneva, William, and Javon and Tiffany. Geneva has gotten the news in regards to their daughter, Anika, her and William's blood type. There's no way that William could be the father of Anika. Geneva walks off with the nurse. You can see that William's really concerned, and now his spidey senses are at an all-time high. Thank God, because how I remember the first part of the season, it seemed like William he would talk like he would know something, but never would say it. And it's just like, do you know or don't you know? Do you have some clues or what? Especially at how you hooked up Javon and Tiffany and wanting to make sure that that worked. It was just like, do you know? But he's starting to catch on that something's up. I don't know about Javon or not, but at least that. Anyways, so Geneva is talking with the doctor. We find out that Geneva was told from the beginning that the IVF didn't take. She got pregnant on her own. And she knows that child is not Williams. Now later on when she says something, I'm like, ma'am, what else you had going on? But for right now, we're going to think that this child is Javon's, which I really think it is Javon's, but hey. The only thing the doctor is just suggesting that you need to tell your husband. And she said, you got to give me some time. Because she's trying to create a scheme that Todd set up to come to William with the bull. All right, so at the hospital also, you know that Franklin's new wife is in the hospital. His son with Naomi, Grayson, shows up. Grayson has a girlfriend who is white named Frances. He's come from college from where he's at and is visiting his father. Grayson fills Franklin in on how his mom always is calling him. And it's quite disturbing as to what she does say to him. She'll be suggesting stuff like, hey, he'll get the insurance money, that Grayson will get the insurance money once your father is gone. Franklin wants those messages. And Grayson's like, I don't know if I should because I could be betraying her. And Franklin's like, well, you got to help her. And she can't do this and do that. It reminds me of oh gosh. Her first name is Betty. Remember, what is her last name? Betty. She's still in prison right now. Broderick. Was it Betty Broderick? A movie back in the late 80s, early 90s. With a couple stars. But anyways, her husband left her after she helped build his company. And for another young woman that was a secretary in his office. And she ended up pow-powing both the ex-husband and the new wife. And there was a series of her, if you could say, crashing out, because she was devastated that this man wanted to leave her after all this time of building. They had children and all that, I think like 5 of them. And she would also leave a lot of threatening and harassing phone messages, a lot that had to do, but was sent right to the ex and the wife. Sometimes the children would be there and pick up, and she would lash out at them if they wanted to spend time with their dad. You know, so it reminds me of that, but Betty Broderick, I think it is. But anyways, the next time I get up here, I'm going to know it and I'll let you know. But I love the movie. I've watched it so many times. Forever it was on Lifetime. And yes, I do like some of those Lifetime movies. Yeah, he feels like he's betraying her. And send me the messages. Grayson said, look, I want to talk to her. And then Francis said, hey, I want to talk to her too. You know, I'm a psych major and maybe I could help out. And Franklin's like, no, it's not going to go down like you think it's going to go down. Especially knowing that he Franklin left Naomi for a white woman. But anyways, they're not going to let that stop them. Bridget, she arrives home and somebody has broken into her place of residence. Guess who? Vaughn. He wants Bridget's help. But Bridget said, I can't help you. He's swearing up and down that he was really going to take his life. Remember all that? But anyways, Bridget isn't budging in regards to helping, and she just said, you gotta go. He starts talking about the police officer and how, Calvin, about how he was handled by him, and found a picture of Bridget in Calvin's locker. I'm like, how did you find all that at the jail? But anyways, Vaughn wanted Bridget to talk to Calvin to see if they would drop the charges off of him. He says he knows how Calvin is with you. He flirts with you. And Bridget's like, what are you talking about? Of course, Calvin wants you. But anyways, Bridget said, you gotta go. And he goes out the window, and it's a 2nd-story building. And of course, Bridget made remarks in regards to that as him being kind of, yeah. Geneva and William. Geneva shares with William as to what she thinks has happened, because now he knows that Anika cannot be his. She says there had to be a mix-up with IVF, and we need to sue the hospital. William's like, okay, we can sue, but is there another way that this could have happened? Is there another way that you could have gotten pregnant? She said, what do you mean? How dare you? Da, 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 da. Well, you want to talk about me? What about that woman that you've been flirting with? So she flipped it around on him to take the heat off of her, to not have to answer anything as to what she may have going on. Okay, Geneva, you playing a crazy game. So Kelly calls Pastor Jeff. Remember Jeff and Rashida? Our girl Latoya Luckett plays Rashida. Well, their daughter Kelly calls and tells him about Laz and how erratic he has been. Pastor's like, is he on drugs? She says all she knows is that he hangs with guys who smoke weed. Now, I think in some cases you can be erratic with weed, but not to that point, especially if you haven't had weed for a while or something like that. But weed usually makes you chill. So the only thing that would make you just kind of do what you do is if you're on higher drugs. Kelly makes Pastor Jeff promise not to tell Rashida about this, because it looked like Rashida wanted to brush over it, which we'll get into that in the next episode. I guess her emotions were at a high at one point, but now she's trickled down and remembered that's my baby. But anyways, Pastor uses a tracking device that's on the phone to locate him. So he says find Laz, and we're going to find out what Pastor Jeff does later on. But anyways, Tiffany and Javon. William had excused them and said, look, we're good. Y'all go off. Of course, Tiffany wanted to stay, And then Javon said, if she's staying, then I'm staying. Anyways, finally, William persuaded them to go, and they go out to eat. Tiffany wonders if they should have left Geneva and William. Javon was like, it looks like they got everything handled. So they finally relax a little bit more and get into each other. Javon actually thought that Tiffany would be high maintenance. And Tiffany said, I'm far from that. I cut my own grass. She said that she grew up in Indiana, and her dad didn't treat the girls any different from the boys. We find out that Tiffany has 2 brothers and 1 sister. On Javon's side, he has 1 brother who lives in Ohio and has 8 children and married for 40 years. We're finding out that this older brother is 15 years older than Javon. And they're finding out, Tiffany and Javon, that they are the same age of 45. Tiffany says, you probably thought that these diamonds are something that possibly my ex-husband gave me, and I worked my arse off for my diamonds. The ex-husband was a bartender, and she paid all the bills. I think we learned that last year, but I can't remember exactly. So then Javon wants to make a toast for the future and saying, cheers to never dealing, or who is it? Oh, I think it was Tiffany. Cheers to never dealing with the bullish again. Javon said, he says that there will always be some bullshit. And then Tiffany said, are you hiding something from me? Oh, no. You might. Lord, when this secret comes out, that's going to be a crazy day. I wonder if we're going to find it by the finale of season 1. Javon said no, but he says, and he explains why he said what he said. As long as there are humans, there's going to be BS. And then there was a new a toast that was made by Javon saying, allow humans to make mistakes, but never do that ish again. So I think that is going to come into play later on. I think that Javon is going to wrap Tiffany around his finger, like we got old girl over there sliding down walls over a man that she fell in love with 7 years ago, and hadn't even seen him all that time, and just ready to go crazy, knowing that someone else may be getting the deed that she used to get. Let's see. Laz comes back home, and Rashida tries talking to him. He wants some money after already trying to do all that struggle and intimidation on Rashida. And Rashida said no. Rashida said, y'all helped the kids at the church more than you ever have helped us. Now, you can look at this a couple of ways. Well, y'all aren't living in the projects anywhere, so I don't think that they have not helped you. However, how PKs feel, and sometimes just some regular churchgoers can feel, that your parent can treat the church and the church people in there better than they do at home. She ain't cussing and fussing and got attitude and all that with the church folk, all nice and pleasant, but on a regular, we know we're gonna hear mama's mouth or something different from dad, So I think that is the place that he's coming from. And we got to look past the surface as the things that they provide him because of the lifestyle that they live. Then Rashida was like, wait till I tell your father when he gets home. And then Laz says, he's never home. Oof. Kelly's trying to get Laz together, and then Laz lashes out by revealing that Kelly has been having sex. Not just with one person, but 2. One is named Jermaine, and the other one is Carlos. Of course, she denies. I'm like, oof, that's a lot, Miss Kelly, that you're trying to engage in as far as sex. But hey, in this day and age, there's a lot of things that this generation is doing that my generation beforehand was not doing, But a lot of times it's the men that are able to be the F-boys. And now it's kind of looking like Kelly is one of the F girls. I don't know. Well, anyway, she denies it. And there's something I'm going to make a comment about in the next episode. And I wonder if it is or not. Well, let me just say it now. What if it's not Jeremiah and Carlos? What if it's a girl? That's where I'm kind of jumping to the conclusion at. But anyway. So Pastor Jeff has located the location of where Laz's phone is at. He's in the hood. He gets out the car and a bunch of dudes, hood dudes, are right outside this building of where the phone is being traced at. And he says that he was looking for his son and they was playing with him. And Jeff said, I'm not playing with y'all. I want to know where my son is. So they want a favor before they do anything for him. And they're trying to demand the car that Pastor Jeff rode up in. Kelly, while he's dealing with these people, Kelly calls and says, hey, Laz is home. And he says, I'll be home really soon. So, to back up these gentlemen, Pastor Jeff pulls out his gun. We find out that Pastor Jeff is about it. I can't be mad at it at all. Go, Pastor Jeff. But anyways, he ends up leaving. He says that I'm a preacher. Oh, Pastor Jeff tries to leave, and that's when he had to really show them who he was. He says that I'm a preacher, but also a Marine. I said, there we go. There we go. And he says that I will you up and then pray for you. Pray for your healing at the same time. I said, Jesus. As he's about to pull off, and after fighting some of the dudes off of him, he says, the doors of the church are open for you. And he rolls on down the street. I said, go ahead, Pastor Jeff. Tiffany and Javon. They're in the car outside of Tiffany's home. And Javon is like, I can't wait to meet your son. And she was like, my son is protective. It's going to be rough for you. Javon says, I understand. He has one son that's in design school. Who knew he had another son? Or had another elder daughter. A son. And he says that the daughter is with his mother. With her mother. Sorry about that. And Tiffany's like, well, you're saying all the right things. But, and then she also says, are you trying to get me drunk? And, of course, Javon is playing quite coy and kind of joking with her about all that. But anyways. So William ends up talking with the doctor at the hospital. Will I be sitting with my daughter? Oh, how he was asking questions because he wanted the doctor to answer. He wanted to say it in the way that she could answer and not betray her Hippocratic oath. Is it Hippocratic oath? Anyways. Will I be sitting with my daughter? Because he wanted to go in and sit with her. And she just says, talk with your wife. And then Will starts putting a little bit more pressure on the doctor and saying, well, Geneva's saying that there was something going on with the IVF and she wants to sue. Geneva hurries her tail on over there and shuts down the conversation. They go into Nika's hospital room, and William talks with Geneva and says, just tell me the truth. She would not. So he said, well, you can go because I'm the responsible parent because I'm always here. Of course, Geneva is like, as if. And William says, look, I'm going to find out who it is. You can bet your arse. Man, I ain't mad at it. So, Javon comes into Tiffany's home, ends up seducing her, and they have sex. And it looks like some good sex because she done hopped up in his arms as he picks her up and do what he do. I said, oh, okay. I wish she hadn't had sex with her. It's going way too far. It's not good that you're even toying with her the way that you're doing right now, but it's just like, you really crossed the line when you know that you're just trying to get back with your ex. It's too much. So Grayson goes and visits Naomi. And we see that Naomi is watching Franklin and his new wife's wedding. Now that's cool. When Grayson comes in and sees what she's doing, he was like, look, Dad's going to try to lock you up. And then Naomi's offended and asks, you went to go see her or go visit her? And then she goes off by saying that this girl done stole him from me. But you don't like him anyways. And then all of a sudden, as they're going back and forth, here comes Francis. Immediately, Naomi's like, you couldn't find a nice black girl? Of course, Grayson is sticking up for Miss Francis. And basically at this point, Naomi's over it. You two leave. And then he went on to, as Grayson's trying to tell her the truth, or try to, not to coddle her or anything. Then she says, he turned you against me, Franklin. But because now that Grayson is dating a white woman, you and your father give black men a bad name. And then she rants on about, I built that company. Once it was built, all of these white women started coming around, wanting his black. And then all of a sudden she starts taunting Miss Francis, saying, do you want his black dick? So, oh. And then Grayson said, look, Dad is Dominican, black, and German. And Naomi said, I don't give a... All he is the ninja with a gyro and a taco. So at this point, Grayson and Francis has had enough, and he leaves with Francis. So Jeff arrives home, and he's looking a certain way, and Rashida wants to know what's up. But first, Jeff is outside, going in and see Geneva frantic, and she's just asking for Rashida to come. She's been calling for a while, and Jeff said, I'll go get her. Jeff gets to Rashida and tells her about Geneva. She goes out to sit in Geneva's car and tells her about the whole Anika thing. Rashida says, you can't lie anymore. I guess Geneva got some type of message or photo or something, because all of a sudden she shows the phone to Rashida, saying, oh, so he's sleeping with her, meaning Javon and Tiffany. So Lord, that is something else, but here we go. It's kind of like Naomi, I don't know. Naomi is something different, I don't know. Well, Geneva, she's living this life of delusion and just won't be accountable, but we'll get more into that in episode 2. Hopefully you enjoyed the first episode. It was pretty good. I love it. But anyways, check out my latest reviews. Episodes 9 and 10 will be up, and later on this coming up week, I will try to be more consistent. The latest Friday next time, if but I'm gonna try my best, y'all. So I think episodes come out every Wednesday or so, like that. So anyways, I appreciate you all for coming. Like, comment, subscribe, and until the next one, peace.